Chalo, so let's first talk for 5-10 minutes. Let's set the agenda for the class. And because now you're going to be with me for quite some time, we'll talk about everything. NCERT जो बचा हुआ है सब बात करते हैं. Let's talk about everything. We are going to enjoy a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll make sure कि आपकी polity एकदम rock strong हो जाए. Of course, I'll be needing some efforts from your end also. And those of you who have been with me know that I grill you. So I want you to be on your toes. I'll give you homeworks also. I'll make you do stuff also. But I'll make sure that your concepts are rock solid, because that's what you're going to need for your exam preparation. So first thing first, very quickly, let me know in the chat box how many of you here are people who are new. New से मेरा मतलब है new और old तो कुछ नहीं होता UPSC में, but what I'm trying to ask is you have not been able to attend the NCERT lectures. Although I hope all of you have it on your portal already, आपको uploaded है वो, so it's there. I just need to okay, you're new to the course. Awesome, awesome. No worries. No worries, no worries. I just wanted to have an idea so that I know. Awesome, awesome. So very quickly, I'll also want to know how many of you are done with your NCERTs and you're thorough with everything that is given in the NCERT. Some of you I've only taught. Others, if you have done it on your own. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So somebody's saying they have read Indian Constitution at work. Awesome. You should have done it. Awesome, Ankita. Beautiful. Did an intense reading. Very good. Thank you, Rishabh. I'm very happy to read that. Yes. Okay. 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 Just wanted to have a fair idea. All right. And how many of you went through 2024 prelims paper? I want to know how many of you have already appeared once in the examination. How many of you just help me with these basic questions, everybody, so that we set the tone of the lecture right. All right. So let me know how many of you have appeared. Anybody who is writing mains and people who will be giving their first attempt. Okay. So those who have appeared without preparation, I don't count it as an attempt. All right. So don't mention it. Usko mano hi mat. है ना? Yes, Sadhvi. Sab baat kar rahe. Don't worry. You are right about that also. We'll talk about that as well. Okay. Okay. But have you gone through the paper? Okay, Ishika. Awesome. Okay. First attempt is going to be 2025, appeared twice. Janardhan, what went wrong? Can you mention so that I can help you better? First attempt. Okay. Okay, all right. Very good evening, Utpreksha. Chalo, all right. Just wanted to have an idea. Polity questions were interesting, no doubt. Chalo. Chalo, all right. First attempt would be 2026. Okay. Chalo. So let me tell you a few things. Now I know, since I know you people. I know, Anshuman. We talked about that book, right? Yeah. Thank you, Swati. So glad. It's not done. 12th NCERT. Achha, one thing, everyone, don't write your comments in the Q&A. For today, I've kept the chat box open, so write it in the chat box. Yeah? Chalo. ठीक है. So since I now know you people and I know what are you up to, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And then let's see how are we going to proceed with this lecture. What do I expect from you? What should you expect from me? Everything, let's set the agendas right. So this is going to be a relationship. I treat it as a relationship. So पहले ही सब कुछ clear कर लेना चाहिए so that we don't have any problem in future. All right. So first thing first, my name is Neelam Bhatia. I have had a rich experience of dealing with this subject because since forever I remember I've been reading and studying it. So right from my class 11th, I was very fond of social studies. So I ended up taking those subjects, did my, no Tilotma, I have not been able to see your messages. Can you write it again? So I did my 11th and 12th with humanities, then finished up with my graduation in political science, did my post-graduation in political science, did my UGC NET in political science, also pursuing my PhD in political science. So, and then of course, I'm teaching with Dr. Ambedkar Center of Excellence in Delhi University. Again, political science. It's been more than 8 years that I've been teaching Indian polity and PSIR as an optional. So you can trust me with the basics because now I know where you falter and where you need hand holding. So that's how things would be with me. Uh, I have a few expectations to mention in here. I don't want it to be a monologue. So it's not that I am speaking and you are listening. ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. It has to be a two-way dialogue. Reason simple है. This is not an area which is purely conceptual or purely factual. Polity lies in that area where you have to be good with your concepts and you have to be good with your facts also. So those of you who deny the fact that, okay, I don't need to cram up anything, वो भी गलत है. And those of you who feel कि नहीं, I just need to work on my facts, I don't need to go into the conceptual aspects of it, वो भी गलत है. So for me, you need to have that perfect blend of concepts and facts. Now listen to me very carefully. I'll be helping you with the concepts. That's my promise. You'll be thorough with the concepts of polity, that's for sure. But please, for your factual understanding, you have to spend time with your subject. So every day after class, whatever time suits you, maybe next day, 7 o'clock ka time hai, so you again have an entire day's cycle. Sit back with the PPT shared, do your homeworks nicely. I'll give you little homeworks here and there. Finish up with your homework and make sure that you are in tune with what I'm teaching every day. Now, let's talk about PSIR after a little while, Swati. I'll definitely have a session with you where we can discuss about PSIR. I've also received few emails in that regard, so we'll definitely do that. But let's move very systematically, otherwise it will get very chaotic. So थोड़ा सा systematic इसको चलते हैं. All right. So for Indian polity, let me check your messages. Yeah, so for PSIR, everyone, as I've told you, we'll do something about it. Awesome. Awesome. For a strategy session, we'll definitely do it. Yeah, whoever says facts is useless should see 2024 का paper, Navdeep. कैसे हो सकता है यार? Just think about it. How can you answer questions like how many times delimitation commission has been established if you have been only focusing on concepts? Doesn't work that way. Day one, say I've been telling you in NCERT series also. Don't deny the fact that you need to memorize. You like it or not, it's not just about concepts. No doubt concepts are very, very important. They stay with you, but you have to remember facts also. So you like it or not, you'll have to remember facts. So now for some time, please don't write anything in the chat box. For next 10 minutes, listen to me and then come back again and write things in your chat box. Now, there are two kinds of students here. One who have been, we'll talk about everything, standard resources, everything. Don't worry. So there are two slots of students in here. One are those who have already attended the NCERT batch, and some of you have not attended it. Now, you don't need to worry, but you need to help me here. And the help that I need from you is to go through the lectures of NCERTs. They're not heavy on your brain. They're very easy, very conceptual. We have broken down every concept of NCERT into simplistic format. So I want you to go through these lectures as and when we are doing this subjective course material. So ऐसा मत सोचना that, okay, let ma'am finish Indian polity, then I'll go back to NCERTs. Trust me, that's not the right way to go about it. So what do? Fix up a time in the morning. And in that time period, make sure you listen to the recordings that have been provided to you. Those of you who have already listened to it, perfect. कोई problem नहीं है. ठीक है? Now, one NCERT we have not done, that is political theory. I have already requested for time slots for political theory, and I've been told that after this particular session, I'll be given 2-3 classes to complete that particular NCERT as well. So that I'll be taken care of. Those of you are asking where to read NCERTs from, as I've told you, you are provided with recorded lectures, which I have taught this batch. So those are very, very detailed. I have broken the minute concepts of NCERT into simplistic format in that NCERT. You can ask your friends in here and you can definitely watch that. वो तो हमें करना ही करना है. That is very, very important. Now, considering you have less time, अभी नहीं मिल पा रहा है time, at least watch class 11th NCERT, where I have discussed Indian Constitution at work. So before you come here tomorrow, make sure at least you have watched the lectures on Indian Constitution at work. Utna to you have to do before we proceed ahead. So the first thing that I want from you is to complete those NCERT lectures so that all of us are on the same page. And that way it will get very easier for me to deliver and it will get very easier for you to come on board with me. All right, that's step number 1. Now I'll be sharing a PPT with you and I'll set the tone of the lecture. If you have any doubts, you let me know. If there is any expectations from your end, तो वो भी मुझे बता देना that ma'am, perhaps this is what you can do for us. I'll definitely try to incorporate. All right. Nothing. Step 1 is pretty simple. You have to just finish up with your NCERTs. Yatharth, we can do that. We can do that. Gungun, I definitely remember that, and I've conveyed it to the prep authorities as well. But I guess your schedule was already very, very tight. So that's why I was not given time. How many lectures are there? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who liked the lectures. Okay. Let me tell you everything about it. ठीक है. Okay. Please don't make notes of NCERT. Please don't make notes of NCERT. There is no... थोड़ा सा ना रुक जाओ. Let me tell you. Okay. How to go about it. Just let me know if the PPT is visible. Can you see the PPT, everyone? Is the PPT visible? Okay. Okay. So fine, everyone. Fine. So how do we go about, ma'am? Do we make lectures? Do we have to use Lakshmikant? Let me clear all your doubts. These PPTs are very, very important, but you still need Lakshmikant. So I'm not saying you don't have to rely on Lakshmikant. These PPTs are enough. They're never enough. So these PPTs will act as guidelines for you, but you will still need Lakshmikant. If you're writing any questions in chat box, I'll not be able to see it because they're getting lost. So if there's if there is any specific question, put it in Q&A, please. All right. Now, first thing first, how do I have to go about? Step number 1, मैंने आपको already बता दिया, you have to complete with your NCERTs. That's your step number 1. Step number 2 is you have to watch the lecture. Try to watch it live. Don't rely that let me, watch the recording. I have time, etc., etc. If possible, and as much as possible, watch lectures live. Step number 2. Step number 3 is to look at the PPTs, revise what has been told in class. Step number 4 is where you bring in your Lakshmikant. And all this looks very difficult, but trust me, it is not, because most of it is repetition. So whatever you're reading in your PPT, you'll go back and read in your Lakshmikant only with much more details. So you read it in your Lakshmikant. And there is one thing that I would like to add here, which we'll be doing differently in our classes and which you should have done before, but not many of you do it. That is, I want you to carry your BEAR Act along. Now, how many of you know what is BEAR Act? Have you heard of what is BEAR Act? पता है क्या होता है BEAR Act? Okay, जिनको नहीं पता, to put it simply, I want you to carry the copy of the Constitution with you. It's very easily available on Amazon, in market. You'll find it very easily. There is a BEAR Act by PM Bakshi. If you want to buy that BEAR Act, buy that. If you want to buy any other BEAR Act, do that. I don't care. I just want you to carry a copy of the original Constitution with you. So why am I telling you this? Time and again, I'll ask you to refer to that article. And that is going to be your homework. Go back and look at that article. Go back and read that article. Sometimes I'll also ask you to open that BEAR Act in class. So whenever you are attending my lectures, even if you have nothing on your table, make sure you have a copy of the BEAR Act. Even this year prelims, if you look at the prelims this time, there was a question on Article 368. And anyone who had read that text, that would have been very, very easy to answer that question. So please, yes, you can buy the latest edition. It would be better, Abhi, along with the yes, Article 109, Janardhan. So many of you might have missed it if you read only Lakshmikant. So if you can take one takeaway from my class today, make Bare Act your best friend. And it's going to help you. And you don't have to go into elaborate details of it, please. So you don't have to read it article by article. Nobody is asking you to do that. I'll tell you which article to read. But आपका काम कितना है? Whenever I'm telling you go back and read it, do it religiously. See, for next 12 classes, 12 classes have been scheduled, but I have requested for some extra. So it will be about 14 classes. So for next 14 classes, trust me on certain aspects. At least try to have that faith कि कह रही हैं तो हमारे भले के लिए कहेंगी. So have that faith and go back and read that particular article from your Bare Act. Now answering your question, ma'am, do I need to make notes? No, you don't need to make notes. If there is something very specific that is not there in the PPT, something that has evolved over time, something that has a connection with current affairs, I'll ask you to take note. So until unless I'm asking you to take note, you don't need to make notes. See, understand this. Your Lakshmikant is already in notes format. How much time are you going to waste doing the same stuff again and again? A book that is already written in notes format, I see people copying that into notes, doesn't serve any purpose. If you really want to write something, prepare for your mains. You do answer writing practice if you really want to write. There's no point copy pasting entire stuff into copies and never revising them again. So I am not a big fan of you making notes, please. But yes, I want you to keep tap with your homework. Whatever homework I'm giving you, maintain a small diary, complete it, mark it, and see, move ahead. Okay, all right, this has been done. Let me move ahead. Those of you who are done with NCERTs, those of you who have a little more time and are not working aspirants, I also suggest to spend 2 hours on your PYQs. I've also tried to list down certain topics and PYQs in this PPT. You can use the PPT for the same and know what is the language that UPSC is asking. See, it's very important to sharpen your axe before you actually start cutting trees. So what you do is you sit back with PYQs, at least 5 years PYQs, and see what sort of questions have been asked. What is the language? How is the question framed? What are the keywords that have been asked? And trust me, most of it will get very, very predictable. Even in 2024 prelims, those of you who might have focused on PYQs, some questions would have been cakewalk for you because they were simple repetitions, verbatim text of PYQs. So I think I have told you everything that has to be done prior to what we begin in. Yeah, you can buy universals, Bare Act, anyone, any Bare Act. I don't care. That's your prerogative. I'm not seen by PK Agarwal, but if it's good enough, it's good enough. Right. That's right. That's absolutely right. No. You will be able to blend in. No worry, Keshav. Just have little faith. It will take 1 or 2 days, obviously. But ho jayega. Apart from the class, you need 1 hour more. That's it. That's it. Okay. So those of you who can't finish all lectures, I told you, go back and watch Indian Constitution at work. Even if you watch Indian Constitution at work, I don't have a problem. Utna to karo, do at least that, and we are good to go. All right. So I think no Q&A. I was just setting the things right. Okay. ठीक है. So I think everything is clear now. You know that you have to go through your NCERTs. You know you have to go through your PYQs. You know you have to watch lectures. You have to read PPT and you have to spend time with your Lakshmikant. All this should not take you more than 1.5 hours besides the class hours. So now I'm switching off the chat box. All right, for some time. We go back to the PPT. Okay. And then if you have any questions, you please put it in Q&A. Oh, Yatharth, that would be a big mess. We have time constraint also, no? So if I allow everybody of you to kind of... Bare Act, Suvendo, kuch nahi hai, Samvidhan hai, Indian Constitution. It is the Indian Constitution and I want you to keep a copy of it with you. Just Google, yes, Constitution of India PDF works, yeah, no problem. Okay, Fine. So I've switched off the chat box now. Now you'll not be able to write anything there. Would it be possible that something can be done so check system is maintained and we know where our preparation is going? Of course, you have your mentors for that. You can always rely on it. Chalo ji. All right. So everything has been set. We are all done and we are 300 in here. So let's begin. So this is your journey with me on Indian polity and constitution. Any genuine questions in the Q&A? Otherwise, now focus your entire being on the lecture. Sari batein bhul jao, agla pichla sara, and just focus in here. Now, what do we really read when we read polity? What do you mean by polity in here? What are you going to teach me, ma'am? So we'll begin with understanding how does the political system of our country works. So what kind of government do we have? How does the legislature function? How does the executive function? What is the framework of Indian political system? In fact, if you look at some of the universities, the topic that is taught under Indian constitution is called Indian political system. So we are going to focus on how does this system look like? Then what does the constitution tell me about the same? How does Panchayati Raj system works? What is a public policy? What are my rights? So this is exactly how your prelims syllabus is codified. So we are going from systems to constitution to PRI to public policy to rights and issues. This is going to be our primary focus. Now, what about the importance of polity and constitution, ma'am? I don't need to tell you how important it is. If you have seen 2024 paper, there were, see, it's debatable. I being a polity teacher would say there were 20 questions. There would be some people who will say there were 18 questions. Why is this debate? Because two of the questions could be counted in both history as well as polity. So there was one question on making of the Indian Constitution with regards to Constituent Assembly. And one of the question was about Government of India Act 1935. So history teachers counted in history and polity teachers counted in polity, does not matter. But on an average, 15 to 20% of your paper comes from polity. Now you tell me whether polity is important or not. So I'm not saying other subjects are not. Of course, you don't have to be a master of polity and leave geography. But what I'm trying to tell you is, if you invest your time in polity, the returns are good. So on an average, every year you see 15 to 20 questions being asked from polity, makes polity very, very important. Now, the good thing is, and this is very interesting, I remember last year, there were some people who said Lakshmikant is redundant now. We don't need Lakshmikant anymore. And critics were proven wrong. I have no personal touch with Mr. M. Lakshmikant. I don't know him personally. But see, the book has been well written. There is a reason why everybody recommends that book. Although just relying on it for your mains can be dangerous, but for prelims, trust me, the good part of polity is you do have a consolidated source. And if you supplement it with your bare act, nothing can stop you. If you have conceptual clarity, if you have attended classes, if you have read Lakshmikant, the good thing is you don't need anything else besides it. In normal situations, of course, 2-3 questions can always still come up that you can't answer, but nobody is going to judge you for that. We don't have to top prelims, we have to clear it. Then, of course, morally speaking, knowing polity also helps you become a better citizen because you understand your nation, you understand how the political system works, and you can also always show off. So you can always tell your cousins, your friends who are not from UPSC background, not read polity, तुझे पता है president elect कैसे होते हैं? Do you know how prime minister is elected? So it's always good to do a little show off, which you can do. And definitely see, understand this, the job that you're going to take up needs a lot of basics of polity to be clear. If you don't know how municipal corporation works, it would be very difficult for you to function as a head of municipal corporation. Or let's say you are the DM and you don't know what are the protocols with regards to chief minister or state legislative assembly, it gets very difficult to work. So even if we look at the end result of you preparing for this examination, that is you becoming a civil servant, it would be very important for you to know the basics. So I think why is polity important is very, very clear. सबसे बड़ी बात which makes sense to you is because huge weightage to polity, that is 15 to 20% of your questions come from this particular area in prelims. Now, what are the sources? Please, you read your NCERTs. If you can't read all of them, if you can't attend all lectures, please at least go through Indian Constitution at work. Super important book. I think it is one of the masterpieces written for polity. Look at the language used. Look at the terms. In fact, this book is also going to help you in mains. If you look at how the conclusions are written in this book, you will realize that they can be ready-made conclusion for your answers. So if I have to pick one book from the entire NCERT, for me, it's going to be Indian Constitution at Work, a very beautifully written work. So you take the hint here and complete it. Of course, political theory, though I'll be doing live only with you. So ye to aapka ho hi jayega. For now, for the purpose of basic lectures, please at least finish up with your 11th class NCERT. If you can do all of them, nothing like it. Trust me, you can sit for like 6 hours, 2 days, and you'll finish all your NCERTs. Best तरीका वही होता है करने का. But in case you are working aspirants, you can't do it, at least go through Indian Constitution at Work. That's suggestion number 1. Then, of course, Indian Polity by M. Lakshmikant. See, there are a lot of books otherwise available also. If you don't like this book, you pick other books there. But I still suggest go for Lakshmikant. It is still the best source available. मैं ये नहीं बोल रही there are no problems with it. There are definitely problems. But you have to pick what is best available in the market. So go for M. Lakshmikant. However, we are going to supplement it with Bare Act. You only have to follow me. कि आज जाके look at Article 1. So go and look at Article 1. Read it. If anything makes sense to you, good. No, move ahead. But read. So please carry your Bare Act along. If you can keep a copy from tomorrow, I'll be more than happy. Keep it on your table. Time and again, I'll ask you to visit government websites also. So alsi mat hona. If I ask you to go to NHRC's website, go. Refer to primary sources. It always helps. So I'll tell you, okay, now today you go to UPSC's website and see the FAQ column. Just go and read the FAQ column. You'll not be surprised. There can be direct questions from these websites and related questions and data related questions also. So we'll be time and again integrating government websites into our preparation, and that's going to help you. Finally, even if you observe 2024 ka question paper, there were some questions which were maybe static in nature, meaning they were testing your factual knowledge, but the origin was because it was in news. And those of you who have attended, okay, so you were not there in basic classes. We have done one batch before this. I had repeatedly told them that prepare ethics committee. Again, no rocket science in predicting this. There was a question expected on ethics committee. Why? Because a particular parliamentarian was punished by the ethics committee. So every day there were articles on origin of ethics committee. There were talks about who makes up ethics committee. So we definitely had to tap on this question for your polity. So please, if anything is making rounds again and again, if it is in news, it becomes very important for us to go back and visit its basics. So what I'll do is, when we are reading, of course, you'll have your current affairs lectures, but when we are having a certain class, let's say on schedules, and any schedule is in news. So I'll tell you, see, this is in news, go back and read it and give me 5 pointers on the same. So go and do it. There will be not more than 2 homeworks a day. But if you maintain a diary, a record of those homeworks, that's going to help you solve a lot of questions. So what are going to be the resources? You're going to rely on a class 11th NCERT. You're going to keep Lakshmikant with you. You are going to keep Bare Act with you. Keep visiting government websites. And we'll try to interlink everything with current affairs. All right. So ma'am, how do I master polity? See, understand this. You have to do utna polity that helps you ace. And trust me, polity is one place where you can actually get 90% of the questions correct. Acha, one thing also, many people would say polity this time was easy. Not all questions were easy. They looked easy, but they were not easy. Some of them were really easy. I would agree to that fact. But some of them were good medium level difficulty, because what happens is when you start solving the questions, there are some nuances which you miss out on. So for example, Article 109, many people might have missed out on that article. That is why you have to be very good with your basics. My dear students, basics are very, very important. There is a reason why we have taken an integrated approach at UPSCprep, where we say ki foundation padho, then you move to basics, then you move to advanced. There is a reason, because until you are good with this, you will not be able to build a building. You can't prepare for mains unless you know everything about how is president elected in India. You don't know what is presidential form of government. You can't prepare for mains. So what I'm trying to say is basics never go out of fashion. So make sure that your basics are rock strong. get a conceptual clarity on everything. Along with it, we'll make a story building. We'll do a story building. So we'll start with what happened during British India. How did it lead to evolution of the constitution that we look at today? So we'll definitely take help of some areas of modern Indian history as well. So those of you who are done with your modern Indian history would understand in here. We'll take some portions from modern Indian history as well and integrate it into our polity preparation. You don't have to worry about that. Then we are going to look at what are the different organs of the governance, how legislature works, what is the function of the executive, how does judiciary works, how is power divided between them, what is the importance of different bodies, what are fundamental rights, what are fundamental duties, how is everyday related, how is this related to my everyday life, and finally we need to integrate everything with current affairs. Now what you can do here is, how many of you have started reading your newspapers? Just raise your hands, because you can't write, so can you just raise your hands very quickly? How many of you? Older edition of Lakshmikant is just fine. Okay. If you want one suggestion from me, buy PM Bakshi Bear Act. If you want PDF, I'll share. Okay. Okay. So some of you have been reading newspapers. मेरा ना बहुत आपको, it's a very small suggestion. I think everybody says this, but I'll say it again. Please start reading your newspapers. Even if they make no sense to you, start reading them. So hoga kya, when you start reading your newspapers, no, you'll come across some polity concepts here and there. And then you'll recall, okay, ma'am talked about this concept. Whenever that happens, whenever it strikes you that I have taught you this before, go back to that chapter and revise it. Go back to that chapter and revise it. So if you think a committee is in news, quickly go to Lakshmikant and revise that committee. This is what I mean by current affairs linkage. So purely not just what is in news, but also a background of the same. I'll give you an example. 2 days back, there was an article which talked about should India move to presidential system of government. भैया अब इस पे डिबेट चल रही थी कि हाइपोथेटिकल डिबेट है कि कैन वी हैव प्रेसिडेंशियल फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. It should hit me that do I know what is presidential form of government as a polity student, as a UPSC aspirant? If not, let me go back to ma'am's lecture and watch what is presidential form of government, or let me just Google it and write. Some stuff is so readily available, you just need to Google it. So what I'm trying to say is anything that is making news should be a part of your reading. Very, very important. You should never miss out on anything that is making news. Now, if I look at prelims 2024, how do I look at polity part of the questions asked? Most of the questions were static in nature. So those who say कि लक्ष्मीकांत का कोई मतलब नहीं है, I don't support that view. It was relevant, it is relevant, and let's see for how long it remains relevant. But static was in fashion and is in fashion, it has come back again. So most of the questions were static in nature. However, there were some questions which dealt with current affairs, like the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhinayam. Again, should you be punished for not knowing it? Yes, because it is one of those amendments, one of those changes in polity which we have been waiting for years now. Bill pass nahi ho raha tha years se. So if that has happened, a civil service aspirant must know its facts. So current affairs, yes. Interlinkage, yes. Now what do I mean by interlinkage? Let me clear it to you. The question was not directly from current affairs, but the static question was asked because something related to it was in news. A good example of this would be the question on ethics committee. So 3 things, my dear students. 2024 का paper क्या सिखा रहा है हमें? Static is important. Current affairs you have to be good with. But उससे भी ज़्यादा you have to integrate current affairs with your static preparation. Now, I'll not go into the debate of 18 to 20 question. As a polity teacher, I'll always say there were 20 questions. If you want to keep it at 18, how does it matter? 18 is still a good number. But 15 to 20% of the paper comes from polity, that's for sure. Now, I've also given you an analysis of how questions have been formed over the years on different topics. Please spend some time on this part of PPT when you go back, because this will tell you some topics are so predictable. Every year there has to be one question, let's say on preamble time and again, on salient features of the constitution, on constitutional amendment. So should I prepare it or not? Definitely. So this is just to give you a brief background as to what are the different divisions of questions over the years. You can take a look at it. I have also enlisted the topics that were asked in 2024, 2023, 2022 prelims. Now you would say, ma'am, itna sara likhne ki kya zarurat thi? What is the point that you want to prove here? I want to prove 2 points in here. One is PYQs are important because if you see the trend, there are some questions which have appeared again and again. Every year there has been a question. Different formats, maybe 2022 ka question repeated in 2024, 2021 question repeated in 2023. Now it's not going to be verbatim. Obviously, it's not going to be as it is. But even if the themes are same, do you realize how beneficial can it be if you spend even 4 hours on solving PYQs? If you spend 4 to 5 hours of your life solving PYQs, the returns are very high. See, the entire game of prelims, at least, it's the cost benefit ratio. Simple baat hai. How much time are you investing? And what is the output that you're getting out of it? Jahan bhi time invested is less and the subsequent outcome is more. Awesome. That's where you want to invest more time in. So make sure your cost benefit high hoga. And for that, I've listed these topics. Jab time mil raha na, just read about delimitation commission. You got some time? Okay, let me just read about union budget. Let me read about governor. Ma'am is teaching lapsing of bills. Oh, I had seen lapsing of bill pay question 2021 also. I had seen a question in 2024 also. Matlab, this topic is important. Let me be more alert in this particular topic. So spend time with your PYQs, my dear students. Trust me, this is one advice every topper, every teacher will give you, but you lose out on. I don't see many students spending time with their PYQs. I don't know why. बड़ा आलस आता है कि पढ़ना शुरू कर देते ना, why to go with PYQs. But please don't do that. Please spend some time with your PYQs. Just like you shouldn't just get up in the morning and start working. Spend 10 minutes with yourself. Make it a habit to sit through the day, visualize your day, see what you're going to do throughout the day. What mistakes did you do yesterday? What can you do better? Those 10 minutes have impact of 10 hours on your day. All right. So make sure that you look at all these questions, all these topics. I've listed it down for you till 2020. So you have 2020, 21, 22, 2024. 5 years topics you have with you. Kuch nahi karna. This is your homework number 1 for today. Just see what topics were highlighted. Just see what topics were asked in 21, 22. And can you see some recurrent themes? Do you see preamble written thrice? Do you see DPSP written thrice? That's your indication that these are the topics that you want to absolutely have perfect knowledge of. So again, for a minute, I am switching on your chat box. Let me know if so far we are on the same page. We are doing it only for today's class. Otherwise, we'll keep it off only. So far, are we on the same page, everyone? Is it making sense to you? Do you now understand how we have to go about? Awesome. Awesome. Does it excites you also? Do you think? Yes. Awesome. Acha, if you have not watched the NCERT session, if you want to take, no, see, it will just take you 2 hours to watch one on Indian Constitution at work. Utna to you can do. I trust you. Old edition, no problem, yeah, no problem. What you can do is, you can just go through the classes. Memorization happens eventually. If you can memorize nothing like it, don't be scared. किस बात से डरना है? NCERT lecture is on your portal. If you can read Lakshmikant simultaneously, awesome. Awesome. Nothing like it. I can see the chat now. I switched it on. ठीक है? And newspaper. Molly, yes. In your, I'll see you again in your advanced classes. ठीक है ना? Chalo, I am assuming no need to be scared. Just have a structure and you'll be good to go. Just have a structure and you'll be good to go. Aditya, Bare Act is nothing but your constitution. So there are some publications, what they do is they take up your constitution, print it, the constitution is printed, and they put up some footnotes about some articles. So Bare Act is nothing but India's constitution. No, you don't need to watch it. Okay. Chal, now I'm switching off again. You can take out the printout if you want to. Thank you. Thank you, Rishika. ठीक है. So, it's okay, Harish. If you can watch it, बहुत अच्छा. नहीं तो then I would say, ठीक है, I'll provide you the PDF of Bare Act. No problem. So, I'm switching it off again. ठीक है. अच्छा, if you have any technical questions as to कहाँ से हमें access करना etc., you please ask the team because that I also don't know in great detail. So for that you'll have to ask the team कि कहाँ से access करना है etc. I'm sure they'll help you out. If still वहाँ पर कुछ problem आती है, you can let me know. I'll convey the same to the team. All right. So this is something that you have to spend time on. Now, please, those of you who are scared, don't be scared. लग रहा है डरावना, बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. If you just follow what I'm saying, if you finish up with your homework and do your readings, you'll come back and tell me at the end of 15 lectures, कि ma'am, 14, 15 lectures, whatever, that ma'am, we are very thorough with our polity now. And that's a promise to you. And I've done it before. You just need to follow what I'm saying. And see, these are not going to be spoon-fed classes. So if you have come here thinking कि हमें सब बता देंगे, that's it, I have to just listen, that's not going to happen. I don't make promises like that. You'll have to put in exactly the efforts that I'm putting. Then only we are going to excel in it. But once you do it, that's my promise that polity would never trouble you. Not just in this attempt, God forbid if you have to give another attempt also. Polity is something that would be sorted for you. But just be with me, trust me a little, and be good with your homeworks. Now, what do you have to do? You have to study with logical understanding. Please don't miss out on concepts. Know what is parliamentary form of government. Know what is presidential form of government. Think of it like a story. So you have to be very logical in your understanding, point number one, which of course I am there for. That's my job. But you have to understand that not just facts, but also logical understanding would be needed. Second is you have to be very good with your revision. Revision के लिए क्या करना है वो मैंने आपको बता दिया. Just after we finish up with the lecture, go back and read the PPT. That's going to be your first revision. Put a timer of 30 minutes and read your Lakshmikant of the same chapter. That's going to be your second revision. Third revision is going to be when we are done with that entire topic and you want to reread it from Lakshmikant. This is your revision. Revision looks scary, but revision is the most important part of your preparation. Then regular test. So I've been told by UPSCprep team that you will be given regular question practice. So you'll be given sheets to solve questions from. Make sure you solve them. Ensure that you solve those questions. Very important. PYQ analysis, I've already told you, my dear students, you have to do it. You have to, matlab have to. I have helped you by giving you the topics. Look at the questions and you'll be sorted for it. Now, what is, ma'am, observational attitude? You have written there observational attitude. What is observational attitude? You know what? There was a time when there was a question that was floated in UPSC circle, that this question has come from a Kit Kat wrapper. There was a question where they asked about natural mosquito repellent, and the answer to that was lemongrass. And there was this Mama Earth ka particular product that had went viral that year for its use as a mosquito repellent. Now, why am I quoting these facts? Many of the questions can be asked if you are observational with your surroundings. Now, मैं ये नहीं कह रही all questions can be answered like that कि देखते रहो और answer हो जाएगा. No. But what I'm saying is, if you visit a government website, if you go to a particular government department, if you're traveling by metro and you see a scheme of the government being displayed here, spend time and read that. What is the scheme about? What is the government trying to do? So try to be observational in your analysis. Why, my dear students? Because that's going to help you not just with prelims, but with mains also. You're traveling by road transport. Analyze what's wrong. What are the problems that you faced? What has gone better? Which are the scopes of development? How do you write a mains answer? Intro, body mein you talk about what is right, what is wrong, what can be the way forward. So if you're attuned to think in terms of way forward, awesome, that's how you're going to write your answers. So please make sure that you're observational, and this attitude can be cultivated ऐसा नहीं है कि मुझे नहीं आता ऑब्जर्व करना, आज नहीं आता. If you start doing it, in a matter of week, you'll become very observational. And then people will be fed up with you that you observe everything. Conceptual clarity, enough and more I've said about it. क्या नहीं करना है? Please, I don't want you to buy n number of books. I'm sick and tired of telling my students not to buy multiple books. It's just waste of money. बहुत हमारे पास ज्यादा पैसा है, तो you please buy practice questions, you please buy test papers, you please buy fancy stationery if you have a lot of money, but please don't buy multiple books of the same subject. It is not needed. What will change from one book to another with regards to how President of India is elected? Isn't it better we read the same book multiple times? Because that way the cost benefit would be more. Remember, I told you the idea of cost benefit. So make sure you're not doing multiple resources. Big no, I never encourage you to do that. Then only rote learning. कि हम तो रटे जा रहे हैं, वी आर मेमोराइजिंग फैक्ट्स दे दिए मैम ने 5, लेट मी मेमोराइज इट. मैं फिर बोल रही हूँ, आई एम नॉट सेइंग फैक्ट्स आर नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, फैक्ट्स आर सुपर इम्पॉर्टेंट. प्रीलिम्स में दे आस्क यू फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चंस, बट ओनली रिलाइंग ऑन फैक्ट्स इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प यू. एंड डेफिनेटली यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू डू लास्ट मिनट स्टडी हियर. ये तो मैंने ऐसे ही लिख दिया, मतलब तुम नहीं करोगे, आई नो दैट. Now look at how we'll go about with the course structure. How am I going to teach you the entire syllabus? So I've divided it into different sessions. We first begin with introduction. Even before I tell you about how constitution was formed, we'll begin with some basic concepts and terminologies. So I see you not knowing what is a constitution. We'll begin by asking ourselves, what is a constitution? What is constitutional framework? What is a presidential form of government, parliamentary form of government? Absolute basics. So first session would be dedicated to what is polity all about. What are the basic concepts and terminologies that we are going to focus on? Second session, we'll go on to how the constitution came into being. So this is where we are going to go into the history of it. We are going to go into the making of the constitution. We'll talk about Government of India Acts. We are going to talk about India Council Acts. We are going to talk about Indian Independence Act. All that will be part of making of the constitution. We are going to look at the Constituent Assembly, how did it function, etc., etc. And then we'll move on to the features of the constitution. What are the basic features of the constitution? 2B may we do the basics, we do the preamble, we talk about India, that is Bharat, so we talk about India and its territories. Then 3A may we focus on directives and fundamental rights. So what is state, what are fundamental rights, what are fundamental duties, what is basic structure, what is DPSP, how do you amend the constitution? All that is going to be taken care of in 3A and 3B. Then we go on to basics of governance. So India is a parliamentary form of government. Now, how does president works then? How does governor works? Prime minister and his council works. How does vice president function? What are legislative councils? This would be governance aspect of your syllabus. And then there's going to be that biggest chapter on parliament, which might take forever, but is super important. Then we'll go on to state legislature. Parliament के साथ साथ हम state legislature पढ़ लेंगे because there are a lot of similarities. Since we'll be done with both center and the state, then we'll go on to center-state relations. Then we are going to talk about emergency provisions, special status, scheduled areas, etc., etc. This is where you will need to be on your toes because this is where your input would be maximum. इससे पहले तक मेरा input maximum होगा because that's more of concepts and less of facts. यहाँ से we move more on facts and less on concepts. So we'll talk about constitutional bodies, non-constitutional bodies, finance commission, UPSC, National Commission on Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe, all this. Then we are going to talk about some miscellaneous topics like election commission, like media, like this is going to be very important. I'll tell you some important cases and judgments that have shaped the working of the country. So landmark judgments will be dealt with here. This is going to be your session 8. This was just to give you a course structure idea so that beforehand you know कि हम इसके बाद क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं. Some of you might want to revise stuff before the class. I absolutely welcome that. If you can do that, nothing like it. I always encourage you to do that. So that's about the course structure. Any questions so far? Again, I'll switch on the chat box and you can let me know. I'm repeating, we're doing it only for today so that I know that you and me are on the same page. So are we on the same page, everyone? Anything that is bothered, we are done with what you should expect from me. How we are going to go about it? Yes, there'll be weekly tests. Nothing, Kumar. It's just my way of segregating it. It's just my way of dealing with it. It would be about 2 to 2.5 hours. Or it can be 2 hours 15 minutes. 2 घंटे तो होगी, उसके बाद 15-20 मिनट वो मेरे ऊपर है ना. Okay. ठीक है. ठीक है. Fair enough. I'll tell you Lakshmikant chapters. No problem. No problem, yeah. You can always start again. We'll do it this time. We'll do it, buddy. Don't worry. Okay. I don't give huge homeworks. Don't worry. छोटे छोटे homeworks दूंगी. Don't worry, Saurabh. It's going to be very easy for you. Why are you concerned? I have not taught only. अभी से concern हो रहे हो. हाँ, after the class, the PPT will be available to you. You don't have to make any notes right now. Why are you worrying? Don't worry. कुछ notes नहीं बनाने हैं आपको. For now, I'm not taking any mentorship calls. I am sorry, Suvendu on the portal. But you can definitely book some other people there. I mean, consult some other people there. ठीक है, I'll give you answer writing. So what we'll do is we'll build up on answer writing. ठीक है. What we'll do is I'll give you small topics to write on. ठीक है. चलो, we are ready and everyone will now. How to begin answer writing? अभी से क्यों चिंता कर रहे हो? Before the lectures, I am sorry, I'll have to ask that. ये मुझे management से पूछना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. 12 sessions and we'll have 2 more. Yes, of course, Lakshmikant is the base material, but not just Lakshmikant. Not just Lakshmikant, let me tell you, okay? Chalo ji. All right. Any more questions? You can put it up in Q&A and class के last में हम लोग देख लेंगे. If you want to make, see, many of you are very concerned about notes. I'll clear it to you. बहुत पेट में दर्द हो रहा है, बना लो notes. If you want to make notes, you make it. ठीक है? I don't encourage notes. I encourage what? I encourage tables. So make tables like tables on powers of governor, tables on all constitutional bodies, tables on oath making structure. Have these tables ready. If you really want to do some good exercise, make tables so that your revision is sorted. For me, if you're just copy pasting Lakshmikant, why would I encourage that? Why would I ask you to do it, right? Chalo, now let's straight jump into basic concepts and terminologies. Let's get clear with the basics first before even starting with the course structure. All right. So what are we going to talk about here? We are going to go into the absolute basics of polity. Those of you who have been with me in the NCERT lectures might find it as a repetition. No problem, take it as a revision. So how is this going to help you? It will help you in conceptual clarity. And these terms, now I'm going to repeat these terms in different lectures. So तब मुझसे नहीं पूछोगे मैम इसका क्या मतलब है? Because I have already told you the meaning of those particular terms. And most of these terms I've taken and put it into the lecture from PYQs. So in a way, I'm also taking you through PYQs. So everything has been integrated. Now, first thing first, what is a constitution? The first terminology, and please focus on the words I ask you to focus on because that's where question will be formed. Now, is it necessary that a country will have a constitution? Can this class have a constitution? Absolutely yes. Let's say we sat today and we decided what are going to be the rules of this class. We decided that you are going to do your homework. We decided that you are going to read your BEAR Act. बैठकर आज हमने we set the agenda. We decided on certain rules that this class is going to follow. So if I compile it into a book and divide it into chapters and write rules article by article, that will become the constitution of the class. So essentially for a country, what is a constitution? कुछ घबराने की बात नहीं है. It is nothing but a set of rules. It is nothing but a set of rules according to which the people of that country will function, according to which the government will function. So whenever you make a country, why do you talk about having a constitution? Because this constitution is nothing but a rule book. However, very important, it has to be accepted by the people. So whenever they're asking you a definition of constitution in your prelims, it's not enough to just talk about set of rules. There can be, now there are questions like which of the following is the most appropriate definition of constitution. One definition is only saying set of rules. Another is also saying those rules are accepted by the people. Why do you need to have it accepted by the people? Let's say out of 300 in this class, 150 tell me, ma'am, I don't want to do my homework. Ma'am, I don't see you as my authority. Ma'am, I don't consider you qualified enough to teach me polity. So in that case, we'll crumble. The class will crash and we'll never be able to function. So this constitution has to be acceptable by the people. Let's say somebody from USA comes to India and gives us a constitution, we'll not accept it. So remember, to put it very simply, don't complicate it. Constitution is nothing but a set of rules according to which a country will function. But we have to remember that this has to be accepted by the people. Very important. So what does the constitution do? Now see, if I ask you, let's play a game. I tell you, चलो हम लोग एक game खेलते हैं. And for you, वहां पर 4 रन है, वहां पे किसी के लिए 6 runs वहां पर है, किसी के लिए 8 runs वहां पर है. There's no rule of the game. So how would we coordinate? One person, one teammate is hitting another, third one is hitting fourth one. We don't have any rules according to which this game is being played. So anything that you need to do, you need to have some kind of coordination. And for that coordination, you need certain basic rules. और ये constitution करता है. So what does the constitution do? It sets out the basic rule so that amongst the members of the society, there is some coordination that we have established. Then constitution tells you who will have the power to make decisions. Constitution will tell you how will government be constituted. So who are the decision makers? India is a representative democracy. आगे पढ़ाऊंगी what is representative democracy. But who is taking decisions for us is not decided arbitrarily, but we get to know it through the constitution. So constitution will tell us who are the decision makers. Very important, constitution will put limits on what a government can do. Very important point. Prelims question. Limited government. पूछा था question एक बार. Constitution establishes limited government. इसका क्या मतलब है? Now you tell me. Can the government do anything and everything that they want to do? No. They have to function within the realm of the constitution. उतना ही कर सकते हैं जितना संविधान में दिया हुआ है. They can't go above and beyond the constitution. So they definitely have to limit themselves to what is written in the constitution. So what does the government do then? Government will function as per the limits of the constitution. So I ask you then, is the government unlimited or limited? Government is limited. Why? Because it is bound by constitution. It can do only as much as the constitution permits. So if they ask you a question that constitution creates a limited government, true or false, it's true. Because what is the constitution doing? It is putting limit on what government can and cannot do. If it is taking away your fundamental rights, judiciary is going to stop it from doing it. Therefore, constitution ensures limited government. Constitution also ensures that my aspirations as a society are fulfilled. What do I want? What do I expect from my government? What kind of health facilities? What kind of environmental facilities? Then this is very important. A constitution expresses the fundamental identity of the people. Now start thinking in prelims perspective. They'll ask you a question. Which of the following about constitution is correct? एक line लिखी हुई होगी. Constitution expresses the fundamental identity of the people. How? Is there a chapter on citizenship in your constitution? Yes. Constitution tells me what is my identity. So constitution provides me my identity. If I look at the chapter on citizenship, I get to realize that I am the citizen of this nation. So citizenship chapter is giving me my identity. So constitution is providing me with my fundamental identity. That's how they are going to trap you. आप सोचेंगे constitution, how is it related to my identity? Absolutely. Constitution is defining who is a citizen. So constitution is in turn defining your identity here. Absolutely correct. Then it lays out some basic rules about elections. So in a democracy, what is the engine of democracy? Elections. Because government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So elections become engines of democracy. And how are these elections to be conducted? ये मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा? Again, I have to look at the constitution. So in a democratic country, constitution also tells you how are elections conducted. Now, obviously, not every detail is given by the constitution. Now, here understand one thing very important. Sometimes what constitution does is, it will give you a framework, all right? It will give you a structure. And then it will leave it on the legislature to fulfill those details. Now, what is legislature, everyone? Legislature का मतलब होता है law making body. जो भी कानून बना रहे हैं उसको हम legislature कह सकते हैं. So we have legislature at the center level. We also have a legislature at the state level. So sometimes what constitution will do is, it will tell you, all right, I've given you the basic format. Now you fill in the details. So sometimes those details are enumerated either by the parliament or by the state legislature. Now you just look at this one slide. There can be a prelims question on it in multiple formats. Start thinking in prelims perspective. We don't have to be masters of polity only. We have to get our questions right. So there can be a question on which is the most appropriate definition of constitution. Two things should definitely be there. It is a set of rules and it should be accepted by the people of the nation. Without acceptability, a constitution will not have any value. Then, does it gives you certain basic rule? Yes. Why are these rules important? Remember the game analogy that I told you? अगर minimum coordination नहीं होगा तो game खराब हो जाएगा. Nobody is going to play, nobody is going to win. So if we want some kind of coordination in a society, we have to set the basic rules right. Then we have to specify who are the decision makers. But we don't want decision makers to be autocratic. Your homework for today, you have to tell me, what do you mean by autocratic? What is the meaning of the term autocracy? Yeah, authoritative. You have to give me the meaning of these words. We don't want government to do whatever they want to do. So what kind of government are we creating? Limited government. Point number 3 for your prelims. Limited government matlab government that functions within the domain of the constitution. Then we do have some aspirations. Constitution also helps us fulfill those aspirations. Does it provides me an identity? Yes. It gives me an identity by letting me know that I am the citizen of this nation. And finally, tells me how are the elections to be conducted? How will my democracy function? Is it setting the agenda right, everyone? I would like you to raise your hands if this particular part of this topic is absolutely clear. Simple basics. But see, हम गलती कहाँ करते हैं? We miss out on important terminologies like acceptable by the people, like set of rules, like limited government. If you are thorough with these pointers, you are good to go. So only 70. Why only 70? Rest of you, कोई problem है? Anything that is bothering you? So yeah, before I know you, I mean, you can keep telling me कि यहाँ पर मुझे तकलीफ आ रही है. चलो ऑन कर देती हूँ फटाफट से चैट बॉक्स, मुझे बताना. Yes, everyone. Are we on the same page? कैसे पढ़ना है ये समझ में आया? A simple topic like what is a constitution? A simple concept like constitution. But there can be 10 questions that can emerge out of it. And that is what they are going to ask you. ठीक है. See, we know that in a democracy, elections are important. We can't function without elections. So how are these elections? Yes. How are these elections to be conducted? We need a procedure for it. So who will tell me what is the procedure? So we need this procedure to be written somewhere. And this procedure will be written in the constitution. Minimal coordination का मतलब है कि हम कैसे काम करते हैं. See, if we want this class to function, do we want some kind of a coordination between us? Absolutely. We can't function if there is any coordination. The class timing is 7 and I'm coming at 7:30. Will it make any sense? You will waste your time. आधे घंटे बैठे शक्ल देख रहे हैं. That means there is no coordination between you and me. So for that, do we have to write down certain rules? Yes, we'll have to mention that the class timing is 7 and everybody has to be there by 6:55. I hope that is making sense to you. So minimum coordination is itna to we should be on same page. And that will happen only and only when we have written set of rules. Okay. Yeah, these questions come. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you, that these questions come up in your examination. तभी तो मैं बोल रही हूँ. I'm again switching it off. वापस से सुन लो, then we'll come back again. That's what I'm telling you. They have asked questions on limited government, Baba. They have asked questions on what is the correct definition of constitution. अब हमें क्या लगता है? हमें क्या लगता है? तो बड़ा basic है. इस पे कौन question पूछेगा? But they ask you questions on it. Now, a very related word is constitutionalism and constitutional government. Very interesting. There is just one line difference between constitution and constitutionalism. How? Let me tell you. Let's say we framed a constitution. Let's say there was a constitution that we decided we'll have, but nobody works according to that constitution only. We said everybody has to be there for class by 7, but nobody comes by 7:30. I told you everybody has to do their homeworks, but nobody does their homework. Think of it. Are there countries of the world where there is a constitution, but there is nobody following that constitution? Everybody is working according to their whims and fancies. Bilkul hai. Go to countries like China. There is a constitution. But is the government limited by the constitution? Constitution to exist karta hai. But nobody works according to that constitution. So my dear students, there can be governments of the world where there is a constitution, but they don't believe in that constitution and they don't work according to that constitution. So, whenever there is only constitution, it does not translate into constitutionalism. So, ma'am, what is constitutionalism then? A country where people not only believe in the constitution, but work according to that constitution will be called as a country with constitutionalism. So, understand this. Constitution hai, lekin nobody is following that constitution. So that means constitution is there, but no constitutionalism. Constitution is there and everybody is working according to the constitution. Then we can say that this constitution, this country also has constitutionalism, or this government is constitutional government. I'll ask you a question. Is India's government a constitutional government? Yes. Why? Because we work according to the constitution. Can I say the same for Pakistan? Question mark. Constitution is there, but nobody is getting limited by that constitution. So it is possible that a country has constitution, but no constitutionalism. Now another question for you, related. Constitutional government will be bound by rule of law. बहुत लोग कंफ्यूज होते हैं, what is rule of law? कुछ नहीं कंफ्यूज होना. Think of what is opposite of rule of law. The opposite of rule of law is rule of men. If I say, who rules this country? And you give me a name, XYZ Bhatia, XYZ Shahenshah. So that means this country is governed by one person, or let's say 2 people or 3 people. Those are the people who are setting the rules for this country. But when I say rule of law, what do I mean? I mean this country does not function according to 1 individual or 2 individual or 3 individual. This country works according to what is written in law. And which is the highest law of the land? The Indian Constitution. So my dear student, the core element of constitutional government is rule of law. Why? Because what differentiates a constitutional government from a government which is not constitutional is the fact that whether they respect the constitution or not. तो जो government constitution के हिसाब से काम कर रही है, इसका मतलब वहां पर rule of law है. So if I have to find out, ask yourself this simple question and don't complicate it. If I have to find out if a country has rule of law or not, I have to just find out whether that country works according to the constitution or not. If that country is working according to according to the constitution, wow, that means that country has constitutionalism. That means that country has constitutional government. But if it is not working according to rule of law, I am sorry, constitution तो है but constitutionalism नहीं है. So anybody who is working in public office, anybody who is simple citizen, or anybody is a part of the government has to work according to the constitution. So please remember, whenever there are terms like constitutional government, rule of law, constitutionalism, the simple fact is we are working according to the constitution. There can be a statement in your prelims. Does the existence of constitution guarantee constitutionalism? मेरे स्टूडेंट्स तो नहीं अटकेंगे यहाँ पर, क्योंकि उनको पता है जरूरी नहीं है कि if there is constitution there is constitutionalism. The government might disobey the constitution. The government might not function according to the constitution. In that case, the government will not be limited by the constitution. So that means constitution is there, but there is no constitutionalism. So constitutionalism comes only when you function according to the constitution, which means terms like constitution, constitutionalism ensure that no individual, no institution, no organ becomes very powerful. Because what is all powerful is the rule book, the highest law of the land. Connect everything and it will make a beautiful matrix of polity. I often say it's beauty. Polity is beauty if you relate everything. भैया संविधान है, constitution है, but it does not translate into constitutionalism. Why? Because nobody is following the constitution. Nobody is going by the constitution. If there is rule of law, ma'am, does that mean there would be constitutionalism? Yes. Because if there is rule of law, that means the highest respected institution in that country is the constitution. So I'm assured of the fact that the government there is limited. So they are going to ask you, constitutionalism ensures limited government. Absolutely. Because that means government is functioning according to the constitution. Basics aa gaye na. Ab now whichever they want to ask prelims question, you are not afraid, because you know that a government functioning according to the constitution is following constitutionalism, and therefore that government is limited in nature. Are we on the same page, everyone? Is it making perfect sense to you? Yes, Anshuman, absolutely. Absolutely. Where you'll have to raise your hands so that I know. Anyone who is absolutely blank as to what are we talking about? Feel free to write. No problem. Let me know. So you'll have to give it some time. 2-3-4 class lagengi to get on the same page. Why are you disconnected? I don't know. Yeah, democracy will have a constitution, but that is no guarantee to constitutionalism. Nobody can guarantee constitutionalism to you. There can be countries with a constitution, but no constitutionalism. All right, so give me a yes or a no in the chat box. Chalo, fatafat. Constitution, constitutionalism, rule of law. Are we able to connect everything together? Is it making a perfect triangle for you? Awesome. Awesome. ठीक है. Wonderful. चलो. हाँ, last point बताती हूँ, no problem. Audio and video is not syncing. Is it for everybody? Is that the problem for everybody? I think your network has a problem then. You should look at that problem. चलो. एक बार इसको वापस देखते हैं, ठीक है? एक क्विक रिविजन कराऊंगी, just because it's your first class, ठीक है? See, I told you there is a rule book. We came to the class today. I gave you this book. I said, this is the rule book that we are going to follow. These are the 10 pointers that we are going to work on. ठीक है? Constitution बन गया, Constitution बन के आ गया. This is final. We signed it, everybody agreed to it, the constitution is ready. Now my question is, does having this constitution suffice, or will I have to work according to this constitution? What if I kept this rule book and forgot about it? There came a person in my country who said, this country will run according to me. Bhaad mein hai constitution. I'll not work according to the constitution. This country is going to be governed by me and will work according to the rules set forward by me. Now, this would be a country where there would be constitution, but nobody would work according to the constitution. So this would be a country where the government would be unlimited because they'll not work according to the constitution. This would be a country where there would be constitution, but no constitutional government. Why? Because again, the government is not working according to the constitution. This would be a country where there would be constitution, but no constitutionalism. Because constitutionalism का मतलब ही क्या होता है? When the country works according to the constitution. So I am saying, whenever there would be constitutionalism, last point जो लोग कह रहे थे समझाने के लिए, no one institution, no one individual, no one organ will be all powerful. Why? Because all of them will derive their power from the constitution. All of them will have one source of power, that is the constitution. So what will be most powerful? The law of the land, the rule book. So how will everybody function? According to the rules written in that law. And that is why we call it rule of law and not rule of men. So connect everything and it will make perfect sense to you. So there is a question by, for example, somebody said Pakistan does not hold election, but every government indulges in something or the other, that in their history, every prime minister has been jailed, etc., etc. Yes. So we can question, is there constitutionalism, Manu, in Pakistan? And you'll get your answer. Constitution to hai. Yes, but constitutionalism nahi hai. ठीक है. When we look from opposite angle, is the constitution limiting or empowering? Both. That's the beauty of it, Shrija. If it will, listen, understand this, if it will not limit the government, how will it empower you? To limit somebody, you have to empower somebody. And that will make perfect sense to you. If I have to limit, if I want to empower students, I have to limit the teacher. Can I hit you? Can I beat you? That's my limitation. Can I abuse you? No. That is limitation on me. But that is empowering you. ठीक है? Yes, constitutionalism and constitutional government will be same. No, the class will go. Yes, class will go on till 9:15, 9:20. ठीक है, emergency तो पढ़ाऊंगी यार, अभी से कैसे आ रहे हो उसको उस पे. Let's take some time. What set the basic rule of the law? Yes, constitutional amendment. But again, can the constitution be amended arbitrarily? No. Constitution will have to be amended as per the constitutional rules itself. All right. Any interesting question? Yajush is saying, ma'am, can there be a case where in a constitution there is no mention of limited government? And as you gave the example of China, can it be the case that in their constitution, limited government mention is not there? Now think of it, Yajush. No constitution can be made without limiting the government. What do you mean by limits? Let us understand this. बार-बार ये सवाल आ रहा है. Let us understand this. What do you mean by limits? मैंने बोला, you can't write anything in chat box. Is it putting a limitation on you? Yes. मैंने बोल दिया, you have to revise. Is it putting a limitation? Yes. अगर मैंने नहीं बोला होता revise करना, अगर मैंने नहीं बोला तो you have to not write in the chat box, you can do anything that you want to do. So whenever you make rules, you limit people. It is as simple as that. There can be no constitution that has no limits, because making of rule book is all about limitations. The more rules you make, the more limitations you put. It is pretty simple. Some constitutions will make elaborate rules and put more limitations. Some will put less limitations. But rules are all about limitations. Limitations का मतलब है आपको मन मर्जी करने से रोकना. That's it. रुक जाओ यार, नेचुरल जस्टिस आराम से पढ़ेंगे. पहली क्लास में नेचुरल जस्टिस पे पहुंच गए रंजन जी. ठीक है जी. So I hope we are on the same page so far. Should be. ठीक है. Okay. Now some of you were asking, ma'am, question आते हैं क्या? आ गया देखो, constitutional government. One word, limited, sets it apart for me. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गवर्नमेंट लिमिटेड होगी या नहीं होगी? 2021 का प्रीलिम्स में क्वेश्चन है भैया, पूछ रहा है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गवर्नमेंट मीन्स व्हाट? अ गवर्नमेंट दैट इज लिमिटेड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन भैया, बिकॉज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गवर्नमेंट का मतलब क्या है? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म, a government that works according to the constitution. Tell me, would you have been able to answer this question or not? बताओ, आंसर कर लेते क्या? How many of you would have answered it? Raise your hands. You could have answered it simply by knowing what is so that's why I'm going back to your basics again and again, my dear students. Constitutional morality पे भी आएंगे हिमांशु, आराम आराम से, आराम आराम से, बहुत आगे बढ़ गए आप. It's your first class. We'll go to constitutional morality also, but we have to build it up to that level. So this was just to show you that questions are asked from these topics. They're not simple concepts that go unnoticed. But still यहाँ पर गलती करते कई लोग. So you have to make sure that you know the terms well. Limited government, constitution, constitutionalism. You have to know these words. Again, 2020 prelims. A constitutional government by definition is a limited government, baba. Again, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वर्ड आते ही, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गवर्नमेंट, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म वर्ड आते ही मुझे समझ में आ जाना चाहिए था that it should be limited in nature. You could have answered this again. How many of you would have answered it correctly? कितने लोग का सही होता है? I think you would have done it. Again, try solving these as well. Now let's come to rule of law. Again, just a minute. Can you see the recording button on your platform? Does it show recording? At any point, if it is not showing recording, please mention it to me. All right, मुझे बता देना यार. Okay. Then what is rule of law? Again, even if I don't know anything about rule of law, let me ask myself, what is the opposite of rule of law? What would happen when there is no rule of law? Rule of law, the opposite of rule of law is rule of men. When I say 2 individuals, 3 individuals, a monarch, group of 5 people, group of 10 people rule the country, then that country is not working according to law. That country is working according to these people. 1 monarch, 2 people, 3 people, whatever. So the opposite of rule of law is people are running that particular country, or rule of men. But in modern societies, we no longer believe in the idea of rule of men. We believe in the rule of law. So what is rule of law? When the country is functioning according to the rule book. Whether you are an individual, whether you are an institution, you are governed by the same set of laws. So for you, for me, for anybody else, the traffic rules are same. They don't change. That means the governance of the country is not determined by any individual, but is determined by the constitution itself. Now, theoretically speaking, there's a very famous scholar, Dicey, who has given some basic features of rule of law. एक एक करके समझेंगे and it will get very easier for you. Whenever there is rule of law, no individual will have special rights. Now, जो भी हम पढ़ रहे हैं ना, उन सबका exception है, याद रखना. Polity is full of exceptions. So for now, we are assuming that we are not dealing with exceptions. We are dealing with general rules. So whenever there would be rule of law, no individual or group will have special rights. How? Let's say if there was monarchy, the royal family will have special rights. Whenever there was rule of men, the people close to those who are running the government will have special rights. But whenever there is rule of law, you, me, anybody on the streets is governed by same specific set of rules. So nobody has any special rights whenever there is rule of law. Rule of law will not discriminate between you on the basis of what is your religion, or what is your race, or what is your sex, or what is your color. So whenever there would be rule of law, one individual will not be discriminated with the other on the basis of these criterias. Important. ये क्यों पढ़ा रही हूँ? There can be a question on which of the following summarizes the concept of rule of law. or which of the following are essential features of rule of law? So rule of law mein there would be no special rights. Rule of law mein no individual would be discriminated on these basis, and nobody would be punished without proper trial. Now think of it. And there is rule of men. If I have to decide punishment based on my judgment, तो मुझे यजुष का नाम बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है. What does यजुष mean, by the way? Nice name. So I would say कि यार इस लड़के को punishment नहीं देंगे. We'll not punish यजुष because I like the name of यजुष. अच्छा. But I'll punish, let's say, Ravi because I don't like that name. Just giving an example. Don't take it personally अगर कोई रवि है तो. So ये तो judgment मेरे ऊपर हो गया. Now I am deciding that Yajush will not be punished but Ravi will be punished. But whenever there is rule of law, this will not happen. Yajush will get a fair trial, meaning Yajush will have a trial to explain whether he was right or not, whether enough evidences are there or not. So trial का यहाँ पर मतलब क्या होता है? You will be given a fair chance to prove your point. Ravi will also get that chance. Yajush will also get that chance. And it is the judiciary that is going to decide that whether Yajush should be punished or not, or Ravi should be punished or not. And remember, this decision will not be based on your judgment, but will be based on rule book. So rule of law में कभी भी किसी को भी बिना ट्रायल के पनिशमेंट नहीं मिलती है. And all of them will be tried by the same law. So ऐसा नहीं यजुष के लिए कानून अलग, रवि के लिए कानून अलग. Because if the guilt is same, if the crime is same, they will have to be dealt by the same set of laws. Again, rule of law helps you secure your political and civil rights. So that, say again, where do I get my fundamental rights from? I get it from the Constitution. Imagine there was no rule book. Imagine there was rule of an individual. I would never have been given freedom of speech and expression. So my freedom of speech and expression is dependent upon what is written in the law book. So my freedom of speech and expression relies on what is written in the Constitution, not what you think is right. So whenever there is rule of law, I'll be given certain political rights. I'll be given certain civil rights. And rule of law will ensure that there is no absolute and arbitrary power. समझो what is absolute and arbitrary power. Limited का उल्टा होता है absolute. Limited मतलब when you are bound, when somebody is putting a speed breaker on your journey. Absolute matlab when you have complete control. Nobody is stopping you from doing anything. So if there is no rule of law, the government will become absolute because they'll work according to their whims and fancies. They'll become arbitrary. Arbitrary meaning they'll not follow any rules. However, whenever there is rule of law, the government will be limited. The government will function according to the Constitution. So rule of law will ensure that the government does not become absolute. The government does not work arbitrarily. So if I have to summarize what is rule of law, what all is needed in rule of law, dekho, just spend 1 minute here and everything will make perfect sense to you. No one will have any special rights. Because rule of law का एक concept क्या बोलेगा? Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. So you are rich, you are poor, you are officer, you are not, you are educated, you are not. Law will look at you from the same eyes. So everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. Please don't talk about exceptions right now. Exceptions हमेशा रहेंगे polity में. Then rule of law will not distinguish between you on the basis of what is your religion or what is your caste or what is your sex. Nobody cares about it. Nobody will be punished without proper trial, meaning you will be given a fair chance to show your side of the story. Then two people, same problems, same set of violations, same set of laws they'll be governed with. Finally, I'll be given some set of political and civil rights and absolutely ensure करेगा कि government arbitrary or absolute ना हो जाए. What is the meaning of the word absolute? When there is no limitation on you, that is absolute. What do you mean by arbitrary? When you don't function according to rules. You function according to your whims and fancies, according to your desires. So rule of law ensures that government absolute na bane or government arbitrary na bane. If you know these A to F points, you know rule of law and you can answer any question that comes from it. Look at this. Okay, so far are we on the same page? Can we get a raise of hands, everyone? Is it making complete sense to you? Awesome. You tell me. Supremacy of law. You tell me. You tell me. If it is not an absolute government, does that make law supreme or not? What does rule of law primarily say? That we are working according to rule. We are working according to law. It's not rule of men, but rule of law. So essentially, it is supremacy only. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, now look at this question. Could you have answered this question? How many of you think you could have answered this question? Says, which of the following are regarded as the main features of rule of law? Limitation of power to rat jana chahiye tumhe. Rule of law, constitutionalism, limitation, they go together. Then I told you everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. That is also one of the features. Yes. See, people's responsibility to government has nothing to do with rule of law. That is not the basic feature. But does rule of law ensure I have liberty and civil rights? Yes. So the answer would be 1, 2, and 4 only. How many of you would have got it right? Raise your hands. Can I see your hands going up? Yes. Now some of you will say, but ma'am, people's responsibility तो होती है ना government की तरफ. और government की भी responsibility होती है लोगों की तरफ. But that has nothing to do with rule of law. It's like asking you what you had for dinner in a polity class. I don't care. I am more concerned about whether the concepts are going with you or not. So see, prelims questions are not difficult. You just need to be good with your basics and you'll be good to go. So do I assume that we are on the same page so far? अच्छा ये कैसे बताओगे? तो chat box on करते ही there is a flood of messages ना. So I can't see through it. But I'm assuming that we are on the same page. Otherwise, I'll take your questions. क्या लिखा है? Rule of law says individuals but not citizens. So does that mean it also applies? Yes. 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 Think of it. Can a non-citizen or foreigner or alien come to India and commit a murder and will not be punished? Absolutely punished. Absolutely. So that is why we are focusing on the word individual here and not citizens. Chalo, any questions? Please put it in the Q&A. Let me answer your questions so far. पहली क्लास है ना तो आपके क्वेश्चंस आंसर होते जाने चाहिए फटाफट. Any, ma'am, please from next class don't show the darker font for the. अच्छा ठीक है नंदेश्वर. That's a fair point. I'll do that. Absolute control in class. Devakshi, I don't want to do it, but what is happening is when I open the chat box, it just floods and I'm not able to read through it. That's why बीच में मैं आपको freedom दे रही हूँ. ठीक है? Absolute means without any limitation. मैंने बोल दिया you have absolute control. जैसे पढ़ना है पढ़ो. So I'm not putting any limitation that you have to revise, you have to read from Lakshmikant, you have to read from Bear Act. Ah, yes, anonymous, yes. Ah, yeah, don't be sorry. Ma'am, could you see my question? Abhay, can you write it again? Just lost. Ma'am, please go back to constitutional government page and explain the last point. That's gone. We have already discussed it. Mahamaya, abhi yaad aa raha hai aapko? You can go back and watch the recording. Clear ho jayega. What was the last point? I explained it again also, Mahamaya. I told you constitutional government will ensure that the three organs, the institutions, and the individual, nobody is absolute. Everybody has to work according to the constitution. Rule of land. Why rule of land? What if there is constitution and a limited government, but the modern population doesn't want to follow the constitutional rules? So that doesn't come under as a constitutional right. You will be punished for the same. See, when I say constitutionalism is there, that means maximum people are following the constitution. If two of you are not, then you will be jailed for it. No problem. No, थोड़ा सा slow इसलिए जा रहे हैं, first class है, फिर नहीं करेंगे slow, नवदीप. Ma'am, please don't highlight answers. Yeah, I'll not do it. Okay. So we can question the fact that Russia में constitutional है या नहीं है. अच्छा, you're not able to see others questions? अच्छा. Okay जी. Why are you not able to see the questions? I don't know. No, Mahamaya, I didn't miss it. I explained it to you. Chalo, theek hai. We'll not argue. We'll go back to it, but that's not possible to go back to every point again and again. Although we'll do it this time, considering that I missed it. See, I'm telling you, constitutionalism and limited government are one and the same thing, because when you limit the government according to the constitution, that means you're following constitutionalism. Theek hai. So what do we do in a government? We have different organs. We have legislature, we have executive, we have judiciary, and all of them have to function in a manner that is written in the constitution. So what I'm trying to tell you is the way legislature will function, the way executive will function, will be determined by the constitution itself. So no individual or no organ or no institution will become all powerful, because the most powerful organ or the most powerful institution would be the rule book itself. So whenever we talk about terms like constitutionalism, limited government, we have to understand that there would be some control of power. And who will be the controlling authority? The controlling authority would be the rule book. And what would be ensured? That no organ, no individual, or no institution is getting all powerful. They are going to work as per what is written in the constitution. So sometimes, Mahamaya, legislature will control the executive. Sometimes executive will keep a check on the legislature. Sometimes judiciary will keep a check on the both. So there's a word called reciprocal control. Matlab, sometimes legislature will control the executive. Sometimes executive will keep a check on the legislature. Sometimes judiciary is going to keep an eye on both. Imagine if nobody was working according to the constitution and executive became all powerful. तो ये तो control ही खत्म हो जाएगा. Executive will have no power. Legislature will have all the power. Judiciary again will have no power. So this point pretty simply says constitution ensures that there is balance between three organs of the government, that is legislature, executive and judiciary. I hope now it is making sense to you, Mahamaya, and there is no hard feeling. ठीक है, clear हो गया? चलो, next is freedom. Now what do you mean by freedom here? Now there's a word that is written here. Look at the word constrain. Constraint का मतलब होता है limitation. Again, constraint का मतलब होता है रुकावट, something that puts a speed breaker on you. So when can I say that I have freedom? When there is no external control on me, when I'm free to do what I feel is right. Very simplistic definition of freedom, but not the absolutely correct definition of freedom. Why? अभी हम समझेंगे. Because there are freedom के भी types, negative and positive. But to put it very simply, when whatever I'm doing, I have not been put limitations. I have not been imposed certain constraints or restrictions. So when whatever I'm doing, I'm free from constraints, then I can say I have freedom. But remember, that is only one aspect of freedom. How? I'll give you an example. मैंने बोला all of you are free to become IAS officers. मैं गवर्नमेंट हूँ, मैंने बोल दिया all of you are free to become IAS officers. Whether you live in Sarojini Nagar, whether you live in a slum area of Dharavi, whether your father is a clerk, whether your father is an IAS officer, or whether your father is a rickshaw puller, whether you live in extreme poverty or you live in the towers of Bombay, I don't care. All of you are free to become IAS officers. Now, according to the simplistic definition of freedom, it may look like I'm free, because even if I'm living in the slum areas of Dharavi, I can give exam for UPSC. Nobody is stopping me from doing that. But am I really free to give the exam of UPSC when I don't have 2 squares meals a day, when I am not able to afford basic education, when I have to work 3 hours a day to 7 hours a day to help my family? Now the question is, does only removing restrictions, British time में restrictions थी ना कि those who know horse riding can only participate in civil services examination, अब तो नहीं है, so everybody is free. But does that give you real freedom? No. When will real freedom come? Real freedom is when you give people the ability to do what they want to do. So real freedom will come when I'm giving scholarships, Real freedom will come when there is health infrastructure for everybody. Real freedom will come when there is enough educational opportunities for everybody. So understand this. दो aspects हो गए. One is you are removing constraints. That is very essential. That is the starting point. If you still put restrictions that people with only 10 crore of rupees will be able to participate in UPSC examination, then that is not freedom. So one aspect is you remove the constraints. But is this enough, ma'am? No. You need to enable people also. You need to develop the ability also. So whenever I say freedom, there are two things. One, you have to remove the restrictions. And one, you have to enable the people. You have to provide them the ability to express themselves. Combine the two together, then आप बोल सकते हो that we live in a free society. So unless government is helping people develop their capabilities, only one aspect of freedom is fulfilled. So for other aspect of freedom to be fulfilled, there should be one, no restrictions, limited restrictions. इसमें भी कुछ ifs and buts हैं जो हम discuss करेंगे. And second, you should enable people. ये enabling वाला point जरूर याद रखना. So how do you enable? That is why you have government policies. That is why you have health infrastructure. That is why you have educational opportunities. So two aspects of freedom, everyone: removal of restrictions and enabling people. When you combine the two, then you can say real freedom has been achieved. Are we on the same page? अभी लोग जाओ, लिबर्टी फ्रीडम में डिफरेंस पढ़ाऊंगे, भी नहीं पढ़ाया है. Are we on the same page so far? हाँ मुस्कान, ठीक है. Can we have a show of hands, everyone? So for your mains also, see how do you write? Prelims or mains की preparation कैसे integrate करते हो? Do you think Indian Constitution ensures freedom of citizens? Or do you think governmental policies can ensure freedom? So yes, two aspects of freedom. One aspect would be removal of restrictions, and second aspect would be enabling people, helping them do what they wanted to do. By the way, did you had long session before this, or can we extend the class? Was it a long session? Are you tired today? Okay. मुझसे बात भी तो नहीं कर पा रही ना मैं. ठीक है, I think I'll get used to it. So how long was the introductory session? कब से बैठे हो आप लोग? Was it short? It's the third session today. Oh, okay. चलो, तो आज फिर I'll finish at. अच्छा, छोटा ही था. क्या बोल रहे हो यार? No same answers. 2 hours. Okay. So let's continue for some more time. है ना? चलो 9 तक लेते हैं. So you must be tired, but from tomorrow, please be ready. I'll extend the classes. थोड़ा सा classes extend होंगे. You'll have to be ready for it. ठीक है? No, you are not lying. ठीक है? Just for today, I'm letting you have that liberty. Also, so does that mean if I ask you which is the positive aspect of freedom and which is the negative aspect of freedom? When you were removing constraints, that became negative aspect. But when you helped people, when you enabled them, that became the positive dimension. So you have to include both the positive dimension also and the negative dimension also. Then only you will be able to create a free society. So what will be freedom? Freedom will be when people are able to, when people have the ability to develop to their full capacity. When if they can be good sports person, when they can be good at science, when they can be good in arts, when they can be good at music, ये कब होगा? बेसिक नीड्स पूरी नहीं हुई तो नहीं हो सकता ना. तो आपने बोल दिया अरे जो बनना है बनो, यू बी सचिन तेंदुलकर, यू बी विराट कोहली, यू बी जसप्रीत बुमराह, आई डोंट स्टॉप you from doing it. Go whatever you want to do. But am I not putting a limitation by not providing enough sports infrastructure in the country? Yes. By not providing enough food as nutritional levels. Am I putting that restrictions? Yes. So some restrictions are visible and some are not. So unless everybody is able to develop to their full capacity, freedom cannot be achieved. So definitely we have to remove external control. We have to remove any kind of domination, but we also have to ensure that there is enough enabling provisions in the constitution and by the government. Now I'll ask you a question and see if you are able to relate. अगर मैं आपसे बोलूं Increase my pace. Smriti, this is the first class. I have to take everyone along, है ना Smriti? Once तुम second, third class में देखना, once everybody is with me, then we'll go on in a nice pace. But we have to set the tone of the class in the first lecture. All right. I have a question for you. Think about it. Whenever there is a lot of inequality, does that impact freedom? Think of a country where there is lot of inequality. Do you think less people would be enjoying freedom in this country? Yes. So think of a country where there is more equality. Will that translate into more freedom? More individuals would be free? So if they ask you a prelims question, a conceptual question, removal of social inequalities, sunna, removal of social inequalities can help us realize freedom. Absolutely. Absolutely. तो बस यही करना है, कनेक्ट करते जाओ, मजे ही मजे हैं, फिर कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है. If you're able to connect, that's what I want you to do. Awesome. Don't worry about liberty. Liberty हम constitutional aspect में पढ़ेंगे, तब समझ में आएगा freedom और liberty में क्या अंतर है. What is the difference between the two? Then what is Swaraj? This is simple. This we'll go through very quickly. Swaraj is a word that was used many a times in our freedom struggle, coming from two words, Swa matlab self and Raj meaning rule. So when I say there would be rule of the self and rule over the self, look at two words, rule of the self and rule over the self. Now, this is the philosophical aspect to it, which we'll understand in a bit. So when we were British colonies, there was no self-rule. We were governed by an external power. So during the freedom struggle, one of our demands was, we don't want to be governed by an external nation. We want to have our own constitution. And we'll function according to this constitution. Constitution shuru kahan se ho raha hai? We the people. So who became the rulers? The people of the country. So what became the source of the constitution? The people of the country. That is why preamble kahan se shuru ho raha hai? We the people of India. So what was self-rule? When we wanted British to go and we wanted to govern ourselves. ध्यान से सुनना, because this is what is going to lead us to sovereignty in preamble. What is sovereignty? इससे connected है. अभी के लिए क्या समझो? What do you mean by Swaraj? Rule of the self. When I am not governed by any external power, but according to my constitution. Now, rule over self is a philosophical domain to it. Primarily, it says that I should be able to control my vices also. So, Swaraj is not just about having a political government that is mine, but also I should be able to control my vices, my problems, my buraiyan. I should be able to have a control over them. So, when I am ruling over self, that is also Swaraj. Then, so rule over self, as I told you, was highlighted as a moral philosophy by Mahatma Gandhi in his work Hindu Swaraj. So he said Swaraj is not just liberation कि British चले जाएंगे और हमारी कहानी खत्म हो जाएगी. Swaraj will be when we'll realize our responsibility towards the nation, when we'll work as humans, when we'll understand ourselves, the philosophical aspect to it, when we'll realize our real self, when we'll win over our evils, when we'll be able to focus on what is right for us, what is right for the entire society, then only we are going to attain Swaraj. To put it very simply, summarizing it for you, Swaraj in the political aspect meant bye-bye to the British and the government that is our government, that is constitutional government, that works according to the constitution, and we are our own masters. However, there is a philosophical domain to it that was introduced by Mahatma Gandhi, where he said you have to also win over yourself. So Swaraj is also when you have complete control over self. You're not falling to vices कि 9 बज गए, थक गए यार, सो जाते हैं. नहीं, मैम ने बोला रिवाइज करके सोएंगे तो रिवाइज करके सोएंगे. That is Swaraj. All right, pretty simple. I don't think we need to work more on that. एक बार PYQ जरूर देख लेना जो मैंने डाले हैं. From next PPT onwards, I'll not highlight it so that you can first answer it and then we can go about it. Now, a very interesting principle जो मैं आपको NCERT में भी पढ़ा के आई थी, फिर से रिपीट कर रही हूँ. The concept of harm principle given by J.S. Mill. क्या बोलते हैं, ध्यान से सुनना. अब भाई देखो, J.S. Mill आपसे कहते हैं the actions of mankind Mankind, you and me. Assume kar lena, mankind includes womankind also. So there can be two kinds of actions. Simple samjhenge. One is an action which is called self-regarding action, and one is an action which is called other regarding action. Ma'am, what is the difference? Anything that I do can be divided into two. One is that is impacting me. For example, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and sleeping at 12, or sleeping at 1:30, waking up at 4. My health would be bad. I will have dark circles. I will not be able to concentrate. Who will have the consequence of my action? I will have the consequence of that action. So according to J.S. Mill, some of the actions that we as individual do has an impact only on us, not on other people. But let's say I'm playing loud music till 2 o'clock and my neighborhood is disturbed. That action is not just impacting me. Maybe the child has prelims next day, or maybe somebody is ill. So that action will be called other regarding action. So my dear students, what are self-regarding actions? Actions which have an impact only on me are self-regarding. Actions which have impact on others are other regarding actions. Pretty simple. So according to J.S. Mill, any action that you as individual perform can be divided into two: self-regarding and other regarding. Self-regarding सिर्फ मुझे harm करेगा, other regarding दूसरों को भी harm करेगा. क्या लिखे जा रहे हो चैट बॉक्स में? ओके ओके, चलो. तो अब मुझे समझ में आ गया व्हाट इज सेल्फ रिगार्डिंग, व्हाट इज अदर रिगार्डिंग. सो मैम व्हाट डू आई डू बाय इट? ठीक है, होंगे ऐसे, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ उसमें? व्हाट, व्हाई शुड आई केयर? तो वो कहते हैं कि फॉर लिबर्टी टू बी कॉन्स्ट्रेन्ड, यानी फॉर मी टू बी पुट सम रेस्ट्रिक्शंस ऑन, आई डोंट केयर अबाउट व्हाट इंडिविजुअल्स आर डूइंग इन सेल्फ रिगार्डिंग एक्शन. मतलब ठीक है, अगर तुम लेट सोना चाहती हो, यू वांट टू हैव डार्क सर्कल्स, you want to look bad, or you want to have a bad state of mind, that is your problem. So J.S. Mill is saying, as long as people are harming themselves, as long as their actions are self-regarding, we should not be concerned. So government should not interfere on actions which are self-regarding. Who are they marrying? How many children they are producing? That is their concern, because that will have impact on only them. However, if the actions are other regarding, then we should see how is the harm caused. Is the harm minor or is the harm major? So because of my loud music, what was the harm? A person was not able to study for a day. Chalo theek hai, koi baat nahi, no problem. What if I did something that costed somebody's life? That is major harm. So he says even other regarding actions can be classified into two. One which cause minor harm and one which cause major harm. If the action is causing minor harm, just punish them by giving them social disapproval. मतलब उनसे बात मत करो, उनको parties में मत बुलाओ, don't engage with them in the Diwali parties. Just show some kind of disapproval. But if the harm is very bad, somebody has lost their lives, then in that case you have to bring in law and punish them. So according to J.S. Mill, restrictions on my liberty should be based on the fact that whether my actions are self-regarding or other regarding. How do you distinguish between the two? Self-regarding are actions which are harming only me. Other regarding are actions which are harming others also. Other regarding actions can further be divided into two. One which are having minor harm and one which is having major harm. For actions which are having minor harm, only social disapproval is okay. For actions which are causing major harm, I'll have to put some kind of restrictions and give some kind of punishment. Yes. So speed driving would be other regarding. Because तुमको तो मजा आ रहा है, but किसी की जान जा सकती है. So that is other regarding. अब देखो इस principle में कई सारी problems हैं. जैसे sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish between self-regarding and other regarding. What you may think is self-regarding, how many kids I want to produce is self-regarding. But don't you think that is going to put population pressure? You tell me. हाँ बिल्कुल यजुशी, सेम यार, we got the same point. So problem है ना. अभी मैंने बोला how many kids I want to have. is a self regarding action. मेरे को प्रॉब्लम हो रही है ना इससे, तो भैया आपको कैसे प्रॉब्लम हो रही है? मेरे रिसोर्स पे भी तो प्रेशर पड़ रहा है, कितने सारे बच्चे पैदा हो रहे हैं, उससे जॉब्स कंपटीशन भी तो बढ़ रहे हैं. That is leading to a lot of unemployment also. So sometimes it becomes very difficult to distinguish between what action is self-regarding and what is other regarding. As Yajush is saying, what might look to me as self-regarding, for government it might be other regarding. Then how do you classify the difference between minor harm and major harm? For a student who missed out on prelims by 1 mark because was not able to revise the day I was playing loud music, the harm might not be minor. It might be his last attempt or her last attempt. So how do you classify minor and major harm? That is also a problem. To get more of it, watch the lecture on NCERT. I've explained it in more greater detail. But more or less मैंने आपको यहाँ पर explain कर दिया और आ गया होगा. आ गया क्या? Yes or no, everyone? Give me a yes or a no फटाफट. Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. चलो मजा आ रहा है ना, मतलब धीरे धीरे ना we'll be on the same page and then it will get easier. क्या बोल रहा है मैम? A little digress, but on your earlier point, do you think there are enough policies and sponsorship passed by the not implemented by bureaucracy? हाँ जी, हाँ जी, हाँ जी. When I say government, I just don't mean legislature. I'm talking about you people also. You are going to be the executive, so you change stuff. And the burden, the onus is on you. All right. Next is liberalism. What is liberalism, Baba? What is the idea of liberalism? 2-3 pointers, words you remember, and you will be good to go. So one is tolerance. One of the important values of liberalism is tolerance. Why? Understand this. Liberalism has a lot of focus on individual. See, there's always a debate in society. Who is more important? Individual or society? Individual or community? So there are some people who believe community is more important than individual. These people would say कि अगर community welfare हो रही है और उसमें एक आध individual sacrifice हो रहा है तो कर दो. But people who would believe in the idea that individuals are more important than society, then they would argue for the fact that every individual is important and every individual's liberty is important. So I will never compromise on an individual for society welfare. This has been a debate since times immemorial, that are individuals more important or our society is more important. Primarily, this is where the beginning of ideology happens. So there are some ideologies which favor communities more than individuals. However, there are some ideologies which favor individuals more than communities. Liberalism will believe in the idea, one, that individuals are primary units. Therefore, we should have more focus on individuals. That is why entities like family, society, community, they would say they are nothing unless individuals are valued. So for liberals, once you value individuals, communities would be valued themselves. However, then there are thoughts like socialism who will say, ठीक है, एक आध individual compromise हो रहा है, कोई बात नहीं. The society should be benefited. So you can pick your sides. We usually go by the mix of both. Sometimes you have to value individual more than the society, and sometimes you have to value society more than the individual. However, when you talk about liberalism, पहला aspect याद रखना would be tolerance. The second aspect would be giving more focus to individual over societies and priority to values like equality. So for liberal people, equality would be important. For liberals, they would always be suspicious of political authority. ये point देखना, ध्यान से सुनना. See, when you value community, you would say government is an enabler. So government will do things for the society. But when you are believing in liberalism, you will always be suspicious of the fact कि ये सरकार as an individual मेरी equality लेना चाह रही है, मेरी liberty लेना चाह रही है, मेरी authority को कम करना चाह रही है. Because they would always believe in the fact that government is not working for individual welfare. इसीलिए liberals will be suspicious of political authority more or less. Now, if they'll be suspicious of authority, जिस भी चीज के आप suspicious होते हो, would you want more of that or less of that? If you'll enjoy polity classes, would you want? ना बस मैं I'm leaving you in 5 minutes, है ना? Just 5 minutes, ठीक है? मैं समझती हूँ you are tired, but let's finish it. So you tell me, if you're liking polity class, would you want more of it or would you want less of it? And if you'll not like it, would you want less of it? Yes, of course. So when you are suspicious of political authority, you would want political authority to be limited. अब इसको कनेक्ट करना, ध्यान से सुनना, मजा आ जाएगा. Liberals are suspicious. सुनो, liberals are suspicious of the political authority. Therefore, they will always want the role of the state to be minimum. Therefore, they would say that state should have very limited role to play and everything should be left to the free market. So everything should be governed by market, not by state. Connected to the first point, the more the political authority you will hate, the less of it you will want. But we are living in the world of welfare state, जहां purely liberalism काम नहीं करेगा. What is a welfare state? Welfare state का मतलब है a state that values the welfare of its people. And when you talk about welfare, it has to be community based. हाँ, मैं repeat करती हूँ, no problem. Now listen to it, I'll tell you. Fourth point, no problem, listen to me again. See, I'm saying liberals are suspicious of political authority. Political authority matlab government. So they'll always feel, yeah, they are doing something to curtail my freedom. They are taking away my rights. They are hampering my authority. So they'll always have a shak, a suspicion on political authority. And if you don't like political authority, if you're already suspicious of them, would you want more of it or less of it? So since they're suspicious of political authority, they would want the state's role to be minimum. They would not want state to interfere in everything. They would want state to talk about free market. They would want state to leave individuals on their own. Free market matlab, see, there are two kinds of markets. One controlled by the government, one free market. Free market is where competition prevails. So government will interfere very less in free market. Why? Because liberals are already suspicious of political authority. So they will always want less of it. But my question to you, can we live in pure liberal world today? No, because today we argue for welfare state. Welfare state matlab a state that cares for the welfare of its individual, welfare of its community. And that is possible only when you empower your government. If the political authority has no power, they'll not be able to establish welfare. So pretty simply isko agar summarize kare, ideology of liberalism will focus on individual more than the community. They will focus on values like tolerance and equality. They'll always be suspicious of political authority. Therefore, they would want state to perform less and less functions. जितने कम functions perform कर सकते हो करो, and leave everything to free market. So I'll leave you here.